Today on StockCharts in Focus, we're bringing the focus to your charts. We're stripping your charts apart, breaking them down, taking all of those different indicators, separating them out into different chart styles to help you stay focused on one indicator, one section, one part of your analysis at a time. We're taking a page from my own personal toolkit. I'm going to show you how I do this in my own account with some of the different sets of indicators and specific tools that I want to use broken apart and saved as different chart styles. Gonna do it in SharpCharts, gonna do it in ACP, gonna show you how to save chart styles, show you how to break all these things apart. You're gonna get a ton out of today's show. So you know what it is, it's all new, it's all here, it's StockCharts in Focus. All right, my friends, welcome to StockCharts in Focus. Of course, our product focus show here on the channel where we dig into the site, dive into the tools, show you around the features, and of course, help you get more value out of StockCharts. That is our mission here every Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, up on the live channel, also up on our YouTube channel after that, and of course, the on-demand platform at StockChartsTV.com. You've got lots of ways to watch, just like all of our StockCharts TV shows. My name is Grayson Roze, Vice President of Operations here at StockCharts.com. So good to be with you for another episode. And as we like to do, we're going to reach into my own personal toolkit again. We're going to pick out a couple of things that I use in my own process, my own approach to the markets. Specifically, I'm going to show you how I like to break my charts apart into different components, save those as unique chart styles. Helps me stay focused on one thing at a time and never lose sight of price, most importantly. Now, we have a challenge as chartists, right? We love technical indicators. If you love technical indicators, raise your hand. My hand is up in the air for sure. I love indicators. I am fascinated by them. They all have a unique formula, a unique idea. There's a unique benefit to pretty much every technical indicator that exists out there under the sun. And we got a lot of them on StockCharts. So I, as a chartist, as sort of a chart geek, if you will, I love those indicators. I would love to load up my charts with every indicator under the sun and have them all on one screen. But I also love clean, simple charting. I love staying focused on price. I love the elegance of a clean and simple chart, even something that has no indicators on it at all, just the candlesticks, just the bars. There's something really beautiful and really intelligent about a chart that is totally stripped out, that is just totally clean. So those two things don't exactly go hand in hand, right? Loading up your charts with every indicator under the sun and keeping them clean and simple at the same time. So my approach that I've developed over the last couple of years is to actually break these charts apart. If I imagine that full-size chart that I've got with all those different indicators on it, we can break that apart into different pieces, strip them away, and save each part as its own unique chart style. Now, a chart style, if you're not familiar with the sort of StockCharts lingo, a chart style is how you take all of the settings, the indicators, the overlays, the color scheme, period, all that good stuff, save it to effectively a chart template that you can come back to in the future. The unique thing about a chart style is that you can actually apply that to an entire chart list. You can apply it to one symbol at a time on the go. You got lots of different options for how to use those chart styles. They are very, very handy, and in both ACP and SharpCharts, they're incredibly easy to access. So by stripping my sort of big, complete chart apart into all these different pieces, and then saving those different pieces as chart styles, I can get sort of the effect of flipping through all of those different indicators, but I don't have to have it loaded up on one screen at a time, getting convoluted and sort of crunching down the price bars, helping me, making me lose focus on what's actually happening with the price chart itself. So you're going to see all that in action today. I'm going to show you exactly how to separate your charts out into these different pieces. If you love technical indicators, today's show is definitely for you. So we're going to do this in ACP to start, and then we'll actually jump over to SharpCharts. We'll kind of run through some things over there as well and talk about some similar concepts. So without further ado, let's jump over to the site and get going. So here we are in ACP, of course, our interactive advanced charting platform. This is going to be our starting place for today's show. And what I've actually gone ahead and done to start the show is I've opened up the ChartStyles panel on the left side of the screen. Depending on when you come to ACP, some different things might be open. We've got, of course, the chart settings panel on the left. We've got color schemes, but down below that, we have something called ChartStyles. So what this is going to do is actually give us a sort of view of what we're going to run through today. Now, before we jump into that and we talk through kind of the concept, I do want to run through very, very quickly how to save a chart style. I just described kind of what they are, again, chart templates that you can come back to in the future. So these are all of the different chart styles that I have saved to my account. If I shut this down though, we actually have in ACP here a whole bunch of other different groups that you can choose from as well. Things like experts, time frames, these are kind of built-in predefined chart styles, if you will. So you can click on any of these in ACP to sort of try those out. But once you've created a chart and you actually want to save that, you want it to appear here in that Your Styles menu so that you can come back to it in the future. It's incredibly easy. Set that chart up exactly the way that you want it with the type, the period, the range, all the settings, all the indicators, all that good stuff. Then come over to this chart style sidebar, hit save chart style at the bottom, that big green button, and you've got two options in there. You can either save a new chart style, add that to your account when you've created one that you now want to sort of come back to in the future. Or if you're taking an existing chart style and you're updating that, just flip over to the update existing tab and you can actually select a specific chart style from the menu right there, hit save, and that's going to replace that one or update it in your account. So very, very easy to save these chart styles once you've created them. And then most importantly, it's incredibly easy to access these chart styles. As you're going to see, you just have to click on any of these names to access those. So the concept, again, just to run through this really quickly, I love indicators. I, at times, have had these very complicated charts that are loaded up with tons and tons of things on the screen. But over time, over the years, I've started stripping away a lot of those indicators. And so what you're looking at actually on the screen right now is my default chart, my primary chart. This is an incredibly simple chart. All we have really is the price panel in the middle of the screen, looking at about a year and a half worth of data. We do have a couple of moving averages on here. We've got the 20 period EMA, the 50 period, the 100 period, and the 200 period SMAs. But even that, I've actually stripped something out. We've got kind of a secret hidden thing here. You can see that we have a little label for the 20 period EMA, but it doesn't actually even exist on this chart. I've actually turned the opacity on that 20 period all the way down because even that, it's really not a primary moving average for me. So I've actually kind of hidden that 20 period on my chart. So all I really have is the value of it, the little label over on the right. I've got relative strength up at the top, which tells me how this symbol is doing relative to the total market. And then down at the very bottom, I do have the volume bars and a couple little labels on here as well for earnings dates markers, dividend markers, things like that. This is my default chart though. It's incredibly simple, incredibly stripped out. Now, I have a built-up sort of approach that we've actually reviewed on this show in the past. I call these my different chart levels. So you can see that my default, the one that has that star, is level 1. That's what I typically like to look at. We've got something even below that, which is level 0. If I give this a click, you can see there's that level 0 chart. Takes even a couple of things off that. No more volume bars, no more relative strength, and even a smaller number of moving averages. I personally like to kind of build up my charts with these different levels. So I can quickly flip to level 0, take everything away, just look at price on its own. I can stay at level 1, which brings in that relative strength and a little bit of volume analysis. I can jump up to level 2 as I go, as I start to kind of dig into a specific symbol. For instance, if we wanted to dig into ON Semiconductor here, we could sort of build up the chart as we go, jumping from level to level. Level 2 brings in the RSI down at the bottom, so just kind of one small step forward again. But this builds all the way up to a very complex chart called my level 4 chart, which brings in a ton of indicators. We've got 3 flavors of relative strength up at the top. We've got tons of moving averages. We even bring in relative volume in addition to the volume bars at the bottom. RSI, accumulation distribution, and on balance volume in one panel, kind of a fun trick, and then the scooter line at the bottom. Now, the point is that this chart is kind of what I want to look at in a lot of cases or even a couple more indicators if I'm really honest with myself. But I also recognize that this is an incredibly busy chart. It's very cluttered. It's actually pretty hard to see the price bars. Everything here in ACP gets scrunched down. We can sort of get around that by turning off the fit to window mode, and so now it's a little bit easier to see. But still, this is a very complex chart with a ton of things going all over the place. And it really does remind me that I'm kind of losing sight of price itself, which is never a good thing to do. So the way that I've gotten around this over time, again, I've built up these chart levels. I've got 0 through 4, which helps me kind of stay focused on different things at different times. But the other way that we can do this is actually stripping out some of these different indicators and putting them into their own chart style. So what we are going to take a look at today is actually this group of chart styles that I have saved into my account called the basics. For lack of a better word, I called them basic. At other times I've called them general, but these are kind of basic general purpose chart styles that do one thing at a time. Again, the idea here is to keep me focused on just that one thing and price instead of cluttering up a single chart style with all of those different indicators in one view. So, for instance, if I want to look at something like full stochastics or parabolic SAR or rate of change or even the scooters. Let's actually start with the scooters down at the very bottom. If I want to stay focused on just the scooter indicator, which as you just saw was one of my level 3 and 4 charts, if I want to stay focused on just that scooter indicator, I don't have to build it into every chart I look at. I can create a chart style that has the price bars and a couple of moving averages and the scooter, and that's it. So now when I flip over to this chart, I'm really focused on just two things. I'm focused on price and I'm focused on the scooter. It's not kind of getting in the way of anything else. I'm just focused on that one indicator. As I'm going through my charting, if I say to myself, hey, I wonder how the scooter's doing over time, instead of having to have that on my primary chart, I can just quickly flip over to my scooter view. I could do the same thing with something like parabolic SAR. Here's a fun one that brings in the parabolic SAR on those price bars, on those candlesticks, allows me to kind of zero in on just that one indicator without getting lost in a whole bunch of other ones. So I've taken a whole list of indicators that matter to me. You can see a whole bunch of them here. Things like Bollinger Bands, things like full stochastics, the parabolic SAR, relative volume. This is a fun one actually using some of the indicators that we've built into our relative volume plugin for ACP. We've got relative volume down at the bottom, and then we also have the relative volume overlay on this chart. The point is, when I'm looking at this chart, I'm really focused on nothing other than those relative volume indicators and relative strength and price, because those are kind of the primaries for me, as you saw with that level 1 chart. So very easy to take those different indicators that matter to you, strip those big charts apart, break them down into these different sort of components, and then save those as a chart style. Again, it's really easy to save these chart styles. All you've got to do is click that big green button down at the bottom. And in my case, I would recommend that you actually sort of group these together so that they show up all in one place in those different lists. It's really nice that I've got these kind of all in that one group called the basic chart styles. It makes it really easy to kind of find those in the list. I don't have to go searching for them. But you can take those different sets of indicators that matter to you, break those apart, save those as individual chart styles. Now, it's not on me to define what indicators matter to you, what you should be using, but it is on me to show you some of the things that I am using. So you've seen a couple of those here today. The concept, though, applies to any chartist. If you're using a set of indicators, if you've got a bunch of different indicators that matter to you, that interest you, that you want to use, again, you don't have to load those all up on your primary chart. You can split them apart, save those different indicators into their own chart styles. A good example of that for me actually is something like rate of change. This is something that I want to have access to. It's definitely not a primary indicator for me though, so I can strip it apart, break it out into its own chart style. And when I'm kind of going through my charting and I'm going through those different checklists, thinking about a stock or a fund that I want to buy, I have this sort of on tap. I can quickly jump over to that rate of change chart and just take a peek at it and kind of let it filter into my the rest of my analysis. It can kind of become a component of the rest of my charting really easily. I can also use this for some other purposes as well. It's not just kind of one-off indicators at a time. I also use this for something, for instance, called my moving average focus chart. So this kind of does the opposite, actually. Instead of keeping me focused on price and just one indicator at a time, this actually keeps me focused just on what some of the core moving averages from my system are doing. So in this case, with that moving average focus chart, I've dulled out the price bars and I've kept the focus really just on these two key moving averages, the 50-day simple and the 200-day simple moving average. So this lets me sort of zero in on just those two moving averages and really clue in on the intermediate term direction and the longer term direction. Intermediate in my case being the 50 and the longer term being that 200. So you can use these sort of one-off chart styles for a whole bunch of different purposes. Now, the really cool thing, as I kind of mentioned in the open, is that you can also combine this with your chart lists and make it really, really powerful for you. So we're going to do that here in ACP, and then we'll also show you how to do this in SharpCharts very briefly. I'm going to open up the chart lists sidebar on the right side of ACP, and this is how you access your ACP chart list. Just like SharpCharts, you can save symbols into these different lists, organize your symbols, whether you want to create lists for things like the S&P 500 stocks or different scans that you're running, all of your positions. You've got lots and lots of different options. The other cool thing is that you can actually access your SharpCharts chart list here in ACP as well. So in this case, here's one of my sort of sets of watch lists in the SharpCharts world. We've also got things like my all positions list, lots and lots of different stuff. I kind of split my time between SharpCharts and ACP, and this actually helps me do that. Again, I can access all of my SharpCharts lists, all those saved symbols, but with some of the tools and features built into ACP. So let's actually do that right now. We've got a unique chart here in the screen, and we've got a whole list of symbols that are saved into a chart list. Now, if I click one of these charts, because I've turned this load symbol only checkbox off, you can see that that's unchecked. This is what that saved chart actually looks like. Again, kind of similar to, this is actually, in this case, a sharp chart that's being converted to ACP, but looks very similar to that level 1 chart that we started with. Again, we've got relative strength up at the top, we've got a couple of moving averages, and we've got the volume bars down at the bottom. So this is what that saved chart looks like. If I turn load symbol only on, however, I can then pull up any chart in ACP and start to flip through this chart list, and it will just pull in the symbol. It will load the symbol only. It won't actually load all of the saved chart settings. So if you're following along here, you're getting a little creative, you kind of know where I'm going. The very cool thing that you can do here in ACP is pull up one of these different chart lists. For instance, let's jump back over to that MA focus chart. We can pull up that MA focus chart here in the middle of ACP using one of those saved specific chart styles that we've got over on the left. We can make sure that the load symbol only checkbox is turned on. And now when I click Airbnb, you can see that it's actually just going to leave all of the settings on the screen and pull in that symbol. I can then flip down to ACHC. That's going to take, again, just the symbol and load that into the screen. So what I can do here now is take an entire chart list of saved symbols, saved charts. I can turn on that load symbol only checkbox. I can load up the chart style that I want to see, one of the focused chart styles that I want to see in the middle of the screen, and I can flip through this list. You can do this with a watch list. You can do this with the positions that you have in your account, really any case. You could do this with all the stocks in the S&P 100 or the S&P 500, anything that you want to do. You could do this with scan results as well. Lots and lots of different reasons that you might want to do this. But what you can also do here is then sort of start to flip through some of those different chart styles in your account. So this is, again, how we can take that long chart, that really tall chart, we can break that apart, still use those different indicators, still use those different tools and bring them into our analysis, but we can do that in kind of just one at a time, this kind of different stripped out, more focused mode. So let's say we wanted to jump back over to, for instance, that scooter view. Now we're looking at that scooter chart. Again, we've got our chart list open, we've got load symbol only turned on. And so now when I start to flip through this list, I can continue through it, and I'm doing so with that focused scooter view. So I don't actually have to apply these chart styles to those saved symbols. in ACP, it's really easy to take one of these chart styles and just kind of view a list using that chart styles, that set of symbols, those settings, indicators, all of that good stuff. So very, very cool. This is something that I do a ton in ACP. This is really kind of how you can use this focused workflow with a set of save symbols, with a chart list. Very, very easy to do this. So with that, hopefully that's given you a sense of kind of how you can build up these different focused views. Again, here on the left side of the screen, you can actually kind of see some of the different ones that I use. For instance, things like anchored VWAP, and again, Bollinger Bands. Here's that Bollinger Band style. Bollinger Bands are another good example of something that aren't primary for me, but it's really interesting from time to time to be able to flip over to this kind of focused Bollinger Band view. And this also allows me to actually load up a chart style with some other things that are kind of extensions off of one of those indicators. What I mean by that is we've got Bollinger Bands here in the middle, but we've also got some of the other Bollinger Band related indicators, like the Bollinger Band width at the bottom and at the top of this chart as well. Those are not indicators that I would typically position on kind of one of my primary charts, but because I've got this Bollinger Band focused view, I can add those in and sort of bring those into the approach, bring those into to my analysis. We can even do this with things like candles only. Here's a totally stripped out view, no moving averages, no indicators, nothing, just the candles. So lots and lots of different ways that you can use this. We've got moving average ribbons in my case. We've got things like the anchored VWAP as well. Another good example, this allows me to kind of focus on just that anchored VWAP here in ACP, and I could even flip through the different chart lists that I have and then start to actually move that anchored VWAP around. It's really easy in ACP. Also, you can just click on the chart to move that around. So lots of different creative ways to use these kind of focused chart styles and combine those with your chart lists. So now that we've done that, let's actually jump over to SharpCharts. We're going to talk about how you can do some of these same things over there. We'll quickly run through how to save a chart style in the SharpCharts world as well. I'll show you some of these same views over there, and then we'll talk about the apply style to all function, which kind of starts to mimic the same concept that you can do here with that load symbol only checkbox. So we'll jump over to SharpCharts now and take a look. So here we are now on the SharpCharts workbench. We can see, again, that stripped out default chart that I like to use doesn't bring a whole lot into it, just that relative strength and price bars, a couple of moving averages, and the volume bars down at the bottom. Two places that we can access our chart styles here in SharpCharts. First and foremost, we do have the chart styles row down below that chart. So you've got a menu that allows you to access any of your saved chart styles, as well as some of the predefined styles that we have down there at the bottom. And then you've got a couple of different ways to either add these or replace these or even edit some of the different properties. Or if you want, you can also delete chart styles from here. So kind of like we did with ACP, once you've set up a Sharp chart, all the settings and everything are exactly the way that you want them. You can quickly add a new chart style by hitting the Add New button. All you have to do is enter a name for that, hit Add, and that chart style will be added to your account. If you take an existing chart style, make some changes to that, and you want to replace it, you want to update that just like we did with ACP, simply hit that Replace button, open up that menu to the one that you want to update or replace, and then hit the Replace button. Pretty straightforward there. If you do want to edit some of the properties like the name or change what chart style button is assigned to a specific chart style, we'll talk about that in just a second. You can hit that Edit Properties field. That's going to open up a little name box. You can edit the name, change it, add something, whatever you want to do there. And if you want to delete a chart style, of course, you've got a little delete button right there as well. The other way that you can access your chart styles here in SharpCharts, though, kind of similar to ACP, we've actually got our style buttons over here on the left. So you get up to 12 of these in your account. When you hover over them, you can actually see those different names. So this is how I've actually taken that kind of chart levels concept that we looked at in ACP. I built this into my style button, so it's very, very easy for me to flip through those different levels. Just like we did in ACP, all you've got to do is click on one. So we can start at level 0, we can jump up to level 1, jump up to level 2, even jump up to level 4. We've got level 3 there in the middle as well. But just like we had in ACP, same kind of sets of indicators. Again, I kind of like to use ACP and SharpCharts together, so they kind of mirror each other. I've set them up to do that. But same concept. All the way up at level 4, this chart gets to be really, really cluttered. So I actually like to break this one apart. Again, my default is going to be that level 1 chart, which is going to be very stripped out. And I like to break those other charts apart so that I don't always have to get hit with that wall of indicators. Now, with these style buttons over on the left, you've also got a little arrow up at the top. When you give that a click, this opens a sidebar, kind of like ACP did. And this is actually the other way that you can interact with all of your different chart styles. So you can see them here in the list. Here is my big list of chart styles. And again, just like we looked at over in ACP, we've got all of our basic focused chart styles that are specific to one thing, whether it's Bollinger Bands here up at the top or our MA focus chart. We've got parabolic SAR and scooter and rate of change. All those things are mirrored over here in SharpCharts as well. So it's very, very easy to access any of these. For instance, if we want to jump over to our scooter chart, we don't actually have the rainbow shading turned on with this one, but this is the exact same chart. We've got price bars, a couple of moving averages, and then at the top, we've got our focused scooter view. So we can really zero in on just that one indicator and price together on the same chart without kind of getting lost in all the other indicators that we might want to have on that screen as well. So same concept, and you can again access those chart styles in a couple of different ways here in SharpCharts, either the menu at the bottom, or you can launch that little sidebar on the left side of the screen, give any of those a click, and you can quickly load that style. If you do want to edit things within here, by the way, hit that edit button at the top. You get a couple of different options. You can actually drag these around. So if you want to move something up to be one of your style buttons, you can simply just hover here, click and drag up to the top, reposition that. Again, everything above that little buttons indicator is going to be one of your style buttons. You can also delete things from here, or if you hit the check mark, you can move your default style around. So in my case, just like we've looked at in ACP, level 1 is my default, so you can hit that chart style default little check mark, and that'll turn that into your default style. So also, any of these can be edited. If you want to edit the name, simply type in that box to edit the name of your chart styles. So hopefully this is giving you a sense though, kind of how you can set up ACP and SharpCharts in a similar way. Again, I like to actually use both platforms. There are strengths to both, and so I like to be able to take advantage of those. And because you have that option to create SharpCharts chart lists and then actually view those over in ACP, I find that you really can work out of both worlds. You can sort of run things out of SharpCharts, but still use some of those great ACP features as well, get some of that interactive charting, take advantage of some of the plugin indicators, and using things like that load symbol only checkbox really allows you to do it. But finally, again, I just want to remind everyone, name these things together. If you like this approach, you like this idea of kind of taking some of those indicators, breaking them apart, and saving individual chart styles for them, I would recommend that you name them together, sort of start those names with something, whether it's a number or a symbol or a word like basic or general or individual, whatever you want to come up with. But I find that it's really nice to kind of have those grouped in these different chart styles menus. So I've got that here in SharpCharts. We looked at that in ACP as well. It makes it really easy to access those. So that is our show for today. Again, another opportunity to kind of reach into my own toolkit, show you something that I use, show you one of the ways that my process has kind of evolved over time using some of these different StockCharts features. Again, this really goes back many, many years, because when I first got into charting a long time ago, I loved to load up my charts with tons of indicators. I thought it was a ton of fun to see all that stuff all at once, and I kind of tricked myself into thinking that I could always separate things mentally and visually, right? I could stay focused on price even though I had a zillion lines going around the screen at the same time. Well, over time, I've realized that it's hard to do that. It's just hard to stay focused on price when you've got so many other indicators on the screen. So you don't have to ditch those indicators completely if you want to stay focused on price, but you still want to have those indicators in play, still bring them into your approach, bring them into your analysis. Separating them out into their own individual chart styles can really help you. I find that this helps you stay focused on the things that matter sort of one at a time, allows you to stack your analysis, sort of prioritize things in a different way. And it can be really, really helpful to sort of keep your charting clean and simple, but at the same time, be able to take some of those indicators, some of those ideas, some of those visualizations, take those into your approach, take those into account as you're making your trading and investment decisions. So hopefully you have seen that today, how easy it is to save these chart styles, whether you're in ACP or SharpCharts. So easy to create those, save those, and then access them on the fly. One other thing that we didn't cover, we're actually going to jump back to SharpCharts really quickly because I totally forgot to mention the apply style to all function. When you're over there on the SharpCharts workbench, there's a unique little feature down at the bottom. So let's jump back and we'll actually take a look at that right now. Here we are on SharpCharts, and at the very top, you've got your little chart lists sort of set of menus. Once you've selected a specific chart list from these menus up at the top of the screen, what you can actually do is load in a specific chart style. Maybe you want to load in your scooter chart style, for instance. You can take all of the symbols in this list. In this case, we're looking at my tier 1 watch list. We can go down to the bottom of the screen, and there's something a little bit buried here on the workbench called Apply Style to All. So again, you might have a set of symbols that are saved with a specific chart style, specific set of indicators. If you want to apply one of those unique chart styles, one of those kind of focus chart styles to everything in the list in one sweeping motion, kind of like we did in ACP, you can actually hit that Apply Style to All button. And what that's going to do is take that existing style that you have up on the screen, in this case, the scooter style, that's going to apply that to all of the charts that are saved into the chart list that you have selected at the top of the screen. So you kind of have to pay attention to a couple of things here. Make sure that you've got the right list selected from your account. And this will prompt you with a couple of little warnings once you click that button. It is kind of a sweeping action. It will actually resave all of the charts in that list with that new style. But then that's going to allow you to jump over to something like Chartbook or Chart List View and actually flip through those charts, or view them right here on the workbench. You can actually click through a chart list from right here. In this case, we're looking at Airbnb. Then we can jump over, kind of like we did on ACP, we can jump over to ACHC. We can start to flip through this list. So we could actually apply a specific style to everything in this list, flip through it, and then we could do sort of the opposite. If we wanted to get back to the style that we had originally, get back to our default style, for instance, we could pull up that other style and apply that to everything in the list again. So you can kind of, in SharpCharts, you can kind of replace saved symbols with different chart styles on the fly to flip through those. Or you could jump over to ACP and do it without having to resave everything, as you saw earlier in the show. So one other thing that I wanted to share with you before we wrap up today's show. So that's going to do it here for a second time on StockCharts in Focus. But again, hopefully this has given you some ideas, some creative ways to kind of keep your analysis focused on the site, whether you're using SharpCharts or ACP. It's been great to be with you. Remember, we do this show every Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, up on the live channel, also on our YouTube channel after that, and StockChartsTV.com. That's our on-demand platform. All of our episodes are archived there on YouTube and the on-demand platform, so you can always go back through some of those, revisit some of the other episodes that we've done. That is always there for you. And really, as I always like to say, our mission on this show is just to help you get more value out of StockCharts. Every Friday, we're sitting down to look at tools and features, run through things that are new, talk about what's coming up, talk about what we're going to be doing, all that good stuff. We kind of just dig into the site in every corner, in every way that we can. Again, with an eye towards giving you more value out of StockCharts, showing you things, showing you how to use things, tips, tricks, tutorials, all that good stuff. We have fun here every Friday. So if you're new to the show, hopefully you'll join me again for another episode next week of StockCharts in Focus. Again, my name is Grayson Roze, Vice President of Operations here at StockCharts.com. I will see you again soon for another episode. But until then, chart on, my friends.